Quick disclaimer, this video includes fast turns, fast clicking, and fast speeds, along with very fast talking. If you do not like or are very sensitive to things like that, please click out of this video now. This video was made very last minute in terms of how fast the narration is, so if that is something that you are not used to or do not like, please click out now. Hey everyone, it's Angie here. So today we're going to be doing a new series on the channel, and that includes OpenRCT2 builds. Going to be doing a speed build today in Forest Frontiers, and I was going to do this live initially, but I figured I would actually do a build on it instead because there's a lot of thought process I have going on here. There's a lot of plans that have been made, and then things that have been changed, and then paths and rides and everything like that just floating around in my head. So I feel like it'd be easier just to do a little build with a voiceover and kind of walk through what I'm thinking as I do it. So we're starting off with the carousel. Forest Frontiers is one of the first maps that you can play when you first start the game, ever, when you install it. As you can see, I already changed the path, so my mind was already going in a million directions at this point. Flowers, trees, so on and so forth, trying to make everything look nice in the small amount of time that I have. The goal of this park is to get 250 guests by the end of October year 1, and as you can see, we started in March and it flies by. So first things first, I was changing the advertising to get an information kiosk as soon as possible, and just messing around with the scenery builds, trying to make the layout look nice at the same time. Next thing I'm putting in is a twist and figuring out the queue here. Eventually I will decorate all these when I have more time, and even when the scenario ends I'll continue on, but I just wanted to put all these rides down just to have something. And then we're going to build our first roller coaster, a classic mini. I did struggle a little bit. I did have a reference that I was looking at for this one because building the mini roller coasters are very difficult for me when it comes to not making them too intense, even though they're supposed to be a smaller ride. So you do see a couple skips here and there of me trying to just figure out this ride layout here. It got very frustrating at some point, so at one point I ended up just looking at a full-on picture and using that as a reference, and eventually I got there. It took a minute. Like I said, I will be decorating all of this once I finish the main part of the park where I need to decorate it all. Again, this whole track just was irritating me the whole time. I was trying to make it gentle enough for people to still go on it, because the Forest Frontiers guest intensity ratings are very, very picky, and same with prices, honestly. They will not pay a certain amount past a certain excitement rating, so you just have to be very careful about that. I am in no means the expert on how the pay and excitement rating work as well, but, you know, eventually you just get the hang of it as time goes on, I guess. So it took a while, but we managed to do it, thankfully. So the scenery part is where it gets really tricky because squinting at the screen for about an hour. I mean, this is sped up obviously, but this was over an hour. This almost took me an hour just to do on its own. So, but I wanted to make it look nice, and I wanted to make the entrance and exit feel like an actual theme park. Somewhat realistic in a way, but not completely realistic to the point where it's obviously annoying. There I got the information kiosk, and I put on a cheat where I could get rid of the entrance and exit buildings to make my own from scratch later on, so that will be enabled from now on. I don't consider it cheating just because I want it to be creative and I want it to be realistic. So if I was doing this based on scenario play and playing based on the base game, I would, but I'm not. So after that, I decided to test the ride, not realizing I did not have it testing, which is my bad completely. I switched the advertising back to roller coasters and water rides, and then I decided to add more flowers and move the bathroom into the middle of the park so people can get to it easily, I should say. From there on, I ended up making the roller coaster open finally, thank God. I almost forgot to do that. And then I ended up working more on the entrance, and these little quirks here. Like I said, when you're squinting at a screen for a very long time, your eyes tend to get very fuzzy after a while. Did the best I could. Again, all the finer details will be done later on. I just wanted to make something look somewhat nice so I didn't have to do it all in one go later on down the line. I don't know. I wish I could describe how this is like. You can probably tell that I am struggling with the little squints and how many times I have to change things and move things around. But otherwise it's, very fun. Next up, I'm doing a little food court area for some seating and just to make my guests, feel a little bit more at ease with the park layout so they're not getting lost too easily with routing issues. Also, with the whole seating, I did the little fence trick so the seating actually gets, works the way I need it to. I put a burger bar and a soda bar down, makes it easier that way as well. And here I am struggling with the fencing again because, again, the layout is so strange when it comes to how you build. Again, I've been playing it for a long time, so it doesn't bother me as much, but for a newcomer, it might be very confusing. I put some fences down to add some more, beauty, more flowers, because guests love their scenery, and that is very true. I also set the prices of umbrellas to $20, because when it rains, you need to make the money. So that's what I did, and you may call it cheap, but I don't call it cheap because it gets us money to go. So I ended up adjusting some of the prices because a lot of the guests weren't going on the twist ride as much as they were expecting to. Put some handyman and some mechanics down because we had a couple breakdowns of rides, and then I put a campaign to advertise the mini roller coaster. Next up, I put a pirate ship by doing some terrain, messing around with the terrain, because I like the pirate ship being over water. I find that very realistic, and I find that very fun for a lot of people who like water rides. It's not a full-on water ride, but, over the water with fountains. I've seen a lot of theme parks do that, and honestly, I love water rides. I don't know, I know so many people don't like them. I personally love them. What do you guys think? Tell me what you think in the comments. Do you prefer water rides? Do you like dry rides? What's your favorite type of ride? Let me know. Putting some paths down. I ended up doing another cheat too where I could actually make regular paths as queue lines, which actually add to realism. So it's not really cheating, it's just for me, I like to add realistic feeling to my park. Messing with the terrain a little bit, adding some more scenery around the pirate ship to make it look more natural and in nature. We're in the forest after all, so we gotta make it look nice. After that, I decided to make a log flume because I finally unlocked that, and I started with the station here. I ended up moving it later on, but I didn't know really what I wanted to do with this log flume. I was going to originally just do one drop and just leave it at that, but that's not really what a log flume does. If it was more like a raft ride or something like that, then it would be one steady drop and that would be the end of it. But because it's a flume with multiple log rides, I just figured I'd make it a little bit longer with a couple more drops and a little bridge over the pirate ship there. Kind of makes it look nice, I guess. And it did rain again, so again, you gotta make those park maps go up to $20 and you get good money with that. It's a little quirk, but it works. Here's where I got a little confused on where I was going to put the station because again, I didn't really have a layout in mind for this. I just wanted to make something look nice, and then I just got lazy at the end, so I kind of just put some S-Bends there. And then at the end, I just put a little quick photo ride because extra profit. Why not? Now, here is where I got really confused with the entrance and exit. This got really confusing for a minute, so I put some more water layout around to make it look more realistic as well, because I just feel like, again, things like this should have water. If a log flume doesn't have water, then it doesn't really look that natural, just being in the middle of nowhere, and it's not realistic to me. So, next up, I put the entrance, and I did test this, thank God. The entrance was actually really confusing because I wanted to make it underground originally. I wanted to make it underground and then kind of pop up there in that first pathway, but apparently it didn't want to work just due to the way the land was working. So I just decided to curve it around just a tiny bit more, and thankfully it actually worked. So, it was the best I could do at that point, and then I just connected the paths the way I did here. Kind of messed around with the layout a little bit to prevent routing issues and making the guests find things more easier. So after I did that, just did the prices, $4 for photos and $3 for entry fee, which is not bad for a log flume. It always gets attraction no matter what. And then I started adding some scenery around it to make it look a little bit more natural. Again, usually a log cabin is usually optimal for a log flume, at least in my experience. The roofing is the hard part because we don't have any log roofs to add, so I just went along with the canvas tent entrance again, or roof I should say, and that worked out pretty well, so that was nice. Kind of made the entrance all enclosed in a way, and then I kind of made some of it open at the same time, so it was a win-win for both. The money started going down pretty fast, and I was starting to take out loans, which was frustrating. And then I started noticing that guests didn't want to go on the twist again due to prices, and that was kind of the frustration there. We're wrapping up at the end of October year 1 here very shortly. Just decorating the ride in the meantime. Obviously, we're still continuing with the scenario even after the scenario ends because we still have a lot of space left and I still have a lot of ideas that I want to do for this first build series episode. And there's the end of the scenario right there. We did win. We got our goal of our 250 guests, so that was good. And now we're just decorating a little bit. This is going to be probably towards the end of part 1. Part 2, I plan to do more rides, obviously, and expand out the park towards the end. If this series gets good feedback from you guys, then I definitely will consider continuing on. I will do all the scenarios, or at least try to do most of them, including some custom ones in case this ends up being really fun to do. If you guys are really interested, please leave me a comment and let me know down below any ride suggestions, any names for rides, or any ideas you think that I could make to make the park more interesting. In the meantime, I hope you guys have all a great rest of your day, and that's about it from me. So I'm gonna let this close out where you can watch the rest of the build, and I will see you all in part 2 where we continue Forest Frontiers. Thanks all for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Catch y'all later.